this is Glendon with Making Money with Storage Unit Auctions. Just in a quick announcement. Yesterday, I deleted all but one of my email lists. And apparently, there was some problems with the link. Some people were able to get to the link, other people were not. Information's below because I actually deleted the list. So I can't even resend you the stuff. I deleted the list, got rid of those email accounts. And also, if you're subscribed to the blogs, unsubscribe. I know that's something you really don't hear, because everything's going to go through that one list. It won't be all of these emails. You won't be over here, you won't be over there. And I actually yesterday removed the sign up forms from both blogs because, essentially I am revamping everything and just going in a totally different direction. Versus having all this information coming to you from this source or this source, just one place for those who want it. If you don't, hey, have a great life. And to the title of this video, the reseller learning curve, how to flatten it out fast. This is something I've talked about, but I've never really got into depth. And I'm going to read something to you from one of the members of the group. Jerry had an interesting thing happen to me at my last yard sale. Stuck an old tool Western gun belt out there for $5. Didn't really think anything of it since the belt had no holster and needed some TLC. A couple picked it up and were talking about it between themselves about how nice it was and what a good price it was. And the light went off. They did not buy it, which I was glad about. Soon as they left, I grabbed it up and packed it up and put it in the house. I listed it later that night on eBay, and it turned my $5 yard sale gun belt into a $26 profit after expenses. Always note, there's expenses. Did the same thing with a couple of old mismatched rusty spurs. They sold well too. Have learned more about stuff in the last 9 months buying storage lockers than I have in my entire life of 50 plus years. I didn't know you were that old, Jerry. You look much younger than that. I thought you were a kid. One of the toughest hurdles for me has been finding or seeing the value in things that really don't interest me or I don't know much about. I'm going to reread that for you. One of the toughest hurdles for me has been finding or seeing value in things that really don't interest me or I don't know much about. Another example was bundling a 24-piece lot of used cell phones and chargers. They made me over $20 profit off eBay, and I nearly threw them out, not knowing what to do with them. On the flip side, I found it interesting that things I think have value, like a Villeroy and Bosch German-made portrait trinket pot, didn't sell after listing twice, just for $9.99. Trial and error, always learning. That's a great response. Now, this is the thing that happens in this space, and there's a learning curve. There are people who are just like, they're ready to take off, they're ready to take off, they're ready to take off and conquer the world and make all this money. You have to be good at something for a period of time before you become great. And that's the thing. You have many people, I have this saying, you're putting the cart before the horse. Some people don't even have the cart, and they're looking for the horse and they're trying to run. You can't run the race without the proper materials. You need the proper stuff. So as Jerry has learned in 9 months, and this is something that I've said time and time again, I've learned more about people, stuff in like the last 10 years than I knew in the previous 30. I had no clue. And this is the thing. This is how you speed it up. You have to do more. Okay, give you an example. I had a gentleman who was a private consult. He didn't have a store, but he was doing storage auctions, but he just wasn't moving the stuff fast enough. And his method of delivery or selling was Craigslist and flea market and garage sales. He could not really do a lot of garage sales. I'm not going to get into the nuts and bolts of how he did it, but this is something that we came up with. He went from going to the flea market twice a month and having one garage sale to going to the flea market every week and having a garage sale every week, which put him in a position where he had to buy 5 times as much stuff as he was previously buying. And as his selling increased and his buying increased, his learning curve, it was just like, oh God, he would tell me on the phone, it's like, I had a unit like that in front of me I could have got for $20. I didn't know what I was looking at. Understand, in this business, you always are going to be stupid because you're always learning. I can tell you right now, with my years of experience with buying almost 1,300 units, that I can go out and see a unit and I'm going to go, damn, what the fuck is that? I mean, seriously, it happens, and that's part of the joy of the business. It's like a great discovery, this huge treasure hunt. So don't beat yourself up for not knowing. Beat yourself up for not trying, because that's the thing. This is how you flatten out the learning curve. You have to do more frequently. If you're picking, you're going to have to up your picking, because this is what I have seen a hyper picker in action. There's this guy named Billy. Billy may hit up, no joke, on one Saturday, he may hit up 50 to 80 yard sales. Okay? 50 to 80 in one Saturday. He's going to get up at like freaking 4:30 in the morning. He's got his information together, and he's going to be at that first sale like 6. Now, when he's done at the end of the day, which is going to be around like 5, he's got a pickup truck. And I have seen the pickup truck where, you know, it's an F-150, and you know how big, you know, this is the bed, right? I have seen stuff stacked 6 to 8 feet above the edge of the bed, and he has a trailer. And he would do this in one day. Now, I want many of you who are pickers, I want you to ask yourself, have you ever seen that much and bought that much in one day? And he goes out during the week. See, that's the thing. You know, now understand, that's all he does. He's a true full-time picker. That's all he does. And he has several sources of reselling stuff. Sometimes he's a wholesaler, sometimes he does the direct sale. But the guy's good. He makes good money doing this. But he's a hyper picker. If you're just like a regular picker and a casual, and I'm not saying that's bad. You know, everyone has a right to do whatever you want to, but what's bad to me is if you're thirsting for more money, but you're doing part-time work. That whole thing of part-time work yet equaling full-time income is insane to me. And that's where many people are. So definitely check that out. Malcolm Gladwell wrote this book, and there was this one thing about becoming an expert in the 10,000 hours that it takes to become an expert in your field. And one of the ways to accelerate that is to accelerate what you do. Some people would say failing fast. I don't really look at it as failing fast. I look at it as making a concentrated, diligent effort to learn your profession as fast as possible. And if you're doing that and you learn from mistakes, I don't think so much that you're just failing as you are in a position of growth. Some of the growth is painful, some of the growth is going to be very nice. But the thing is, give you an example. When I got in the storage auction business, I say I was part-time, but I was probably spending 30 hours a week on it. And I still had my other business, which I was spending 50 hours a week on. So it really was, you know, it was part-time, but it was damn near full-time, because when you really think about actually going to auctions, data management, moving stuff, processing stuff, it was a lot. And then I had this other thing that I was doing, and there was a lot of cross-pollination, because sometimes I would get stuff at a storage auction and I would sell through my other business. So really, it probably was full-time, but since I had it segmented, I looked at it as part-time, but it was probably full-time. But the thing is, I was at an auction, and this gentleman, you know, very nice. There's a lot of nice people that come to auctions, especially the part-time people tend to be nicer because, you know, they have a regular job, and whether they buy something or not, they're going to eat. So they're not as stressed as us full-timers were. And I was talking to this guy, and he was just talking about all the units he bought, and he had been out there. At that point, it was 2 years for me. He had been out there 10 years. So he had 8 years of experience on me. And he said every unit that he bought, he had this folder, and actually it went from his folders. He had all of the receipts for every unit that he bought, and he was at 312 in 8 years, right? Okay, I was at my second year. I was at 280 or 290 at that juncture. So in almost 2 years, I did what he did in 8. Understand that. And it was growing. The number of units was growing. Because what I discovered is, the more you buy, the luckier you become. There was this guy who was an asshole. I couldn't stand his ass. But this is where listening at the auction and learning from people can benefit you. And he said something one day that just kind of changed my life. He said, the more I buy, the luckier I become. That was the exact words he used. Exact. The more that I buy, the luckier I become. And I used to sit back and study people, and this guy always had money to buy, and he would get damn near whatever the hell he wanted. I was like, okay, people are like, oh, he's crazy, and he's been doing that for years. Once again, the more I buy, the luckier I become. Other people, he's been doing that for years. And I sat there and I thought about it. I was like, okay, if this guy's been doing this for years, and the more he buys, the luckier he becomes, I need to do that. You know, it was that simple. Instead of me going, oh, you know, he's lucky. You know, a lot of times we talk ourselves out of a good plan based on our own fears. And I started doing exactly what he was doing, and to the point, and I'm not saying do this because I was in a better position where if I lost $2,000, I was still going to eat. I'm not going to say risk all your money, but there was an auction. It was the first time that I ever spent that much money, to the point other people were like, I didn't know he had that much money. It was this nice room. It was a 10 by 20. It was full from the rooter to the tutor. I mean, it was packed. The type of unit that when the door goes up, stuff starts falling out. And it was me and him. And, you know, he crunked it up to like $1,200 real quick, and we were going. And I had only $2,000 in my pocket. I hadn't bought anything that week. I was a little frustrated. And I was just like, you know what? This is the guy who gets lucky. So we're going. And it's at $1,300. It's at $1,400. Then I just said $1,785, right? Just this weird ass number. And the auctioneer was like, looked at him, and apparently he didn't have it. Going once, going twice, sold. Got the room, and the room was, first of all, there was this high of beating one of the whales. You know, when you do that the first time, you're just like, oh fuck, I'm one of the dogs, right? So I get the room, and it's a huge, huge learning experience. First of all, the big question is, no, I didn't make crazy money. I spent $1,800 because at that time I didn't have my resale certificate on me, and they made me pay taxes. And I cashed out roughly around $5,000 on the unit. So I did make good coin, but the biggest learning lessons of that unit wasn't the money that I made. It was what I learned about myself, listening to other people, because it hit me. If I did that 3 times a month, say I spent that $1,800 plus a month, that was going to be damn near $10,000 profit. And it was just like, whoa, just on 3 units. I was just like, whoa. And I got in the unit. It was a great unit. It was a great unit. Part of the reason that I didn't make as much money is I didn't have all the sales channels that I later developed. Because if I had gotten that unit a year later, I would have made damn near $10,000. Because I was selling stuff cheap. And also that high, it's like I got a unit. You know, I had pots. I mean, really, the guy was a chef. He had some really nice chef knives, some pots and pans, some stuff that if I had really taken my time with, I probably could have made $2,000 just on that stuff alone. But, you know, it was just like, I was happy to get the unit. When my people came in, everybody was like, oh, this is great stuff. The stuff was like going. It was just moving. And also, I had made that decision to win that day, because it was like, if it takes this $2,000, I'm going to spend it all because I'm tired of losing. But that one unit accelerated my learning curve by maybe 2 or 3 years. That one unit. First of all, I didn't have the space to store it, so I had to rent it. Those were additional costs. Second of all, it was all the way on the other freaking side of town. So I didn't have the proper trucks and stuff to get it. So I had to rent the unit. Then I had to rent trucks to get stuff. And it took about 2 weeks to sell everything. But the whole thing is, I learned. That was like one of the best money I ever spent on a unit, because I learned so much. And from that point on, my whole storage auction career changed. It was like, sure, because, you know, I had bought units that I lost money on. I was like, okay, this is a game of attrition, because when you get to a certain level, there's only so many people who can buy with you. And I know a lot of you are going, well, you know, yeah, you know, people are blowing money. I'm telling you, the vast majority after $2,000 are tapped out if they can go that high. When you get to that other echelon, and that's something that I talked about in my webinar and stuff, is you want to get to a certain level, because if you want to make a 6-figure income, it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot of effort. It's going to take planning. It's going to take infrastructure. It's going to take risk. Let me say that again. R-I-S-K. It's going to take risk. That's why I'm never going to lie to anyone and say, oh no, you're going to get into this business and oh, you know, it's going to be easy. No. But it can be fantastic, and it can be wonderful, just like it can be bad. And yes, I bought units with roaches. I've bought units with rat droppings. I've bought units where a rat was actually looking at me because I'm cleaning out the unit, and I'm looking, and there's Rodney the rat. He's looking at me. I'm looking at Rodney, and apparently Rodney's on his last legs because he's looking a little sick and diseased. And I just got a cardboard box, scooped this little rat ass up in there, and took him to the trash dump and continued to clean out the unit. That's the storage auction lifestyle. But if you want to accelerate your learning curve, you must accelerate your buying, you must accelerate your selling, you must accelerate your processing and infrastructure. You've got to do that. Essentially, you've got to push yourself to grow. You have to do it. So that's the deal. That's how you accelerate the learning curve. It's not going to happen with you sitting at home going, oh, I'm thinking about it. It's not going to happen with you at auctions going, I wish I had bought that unit, but I didn't. You have to put some skin in the game, and sometimes you're going to get cut. Sometimes you're going to get bruised. Sometimes you're going to fall down, and really, in a bad instance, you may break a bone. That's reality. But risk nothing, win nothing. All right, this is Glendon with Making Money with Storage Unit Auction.